Most N64 games look like this. Grey, 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 grey. Ooh, what is this? Both Turok and Turok 2 are special for a number of reasons, and now Turok 2 is finally on Nintendo Switch. These games came at a time where dinosaurs were in, and while a lot of media portrayed dinosaurs as being slow and thoughtful, Turok gave them guns. Alongside GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, Turok was very much a flagship shooter for the N64, and it was actually quite ambitious and ahead of its time too. GoldenEye's controls weren't too far removed from Doom, whereas Turok went full-fledged dual-stick action, though of course there weren't two sticks. It worked relatively well, but it is kinda hard to return back to Turok these days, mostly because of this control scheme, and also because the game runs at like 18 frames per second and there's fog everywhere. So that's where this remaster comes in. Turok 2 Remastered runs a lot better, removes the fog, and has proper dual analog inputs in addition to gyro controls. All of this was of course true for Turok 1 as well, and the two are very similar ports in that regard. They both show how an N64 remaster should be done. With that said though, does Turok 2 still hold up? Well, that's kind of a hard question to answer. When researching how people felt about Turok 1 and Turok 2, it seems there isn't really a consensus. Some love Turok 1, others love Turok 2, and some just hate both games. Personally, I think they're both brilliant, and returning to Turok 2 kinda gave me a new perspective on this game. Turok 2 took a lot of its ambition and design from Rare. Basically, you can't finish a level without first having done a couple of objectives first. In the first level, you have to rescue some children.
Child rescued.
Thank you, Turok!
And in the second, you defeat these demon monsters. Now this part may not have aged exceptionally well. See, the design philosophy treats this like a sandbox, but Turok's levels aren't particularly sandboxy. You basically have these somewhat linear paths that connect to each other with portals. There are a couple of teleporters, but if you miss something, there's quite a bit of backtracking to go back and find it. Thankfully this remaster though introduces something that's quite good. A hint system. Now I'm often against first-person shooters having waypoints, but this is just so helpful. Like let's just say you've explored everywhere but can't find the path forward. Well, turn on this system and if you're close to an objective, it will show you exactly where it is. You still need to explore to find the waypoint, but it's still super helpful. So honestly, everything this port does, it does really well. The graphics look great, the controls are better than ever, and the hint system really benefits the design. But there is one area where this port falls short. So of course the N64 game had multiplayer, and you know what, the Xbox One and PC remaster did as well. So where is it in the Switch version? Well that's the thing, the Switch version doesn't have multiplayer. Not locally, not online, it's just not here. Now Turok 2 single player is still really good and it is worth playing just for that, but nonetheless, this is a huge strike against the game. Turok's level design, and most importantly its weapons, are so fun to play around with, and to know that you can't experience that with friends just kinda stings, especially when this is the only version that doesn't allow it. And the thing is, I really appreciate this kind of approach to shooter design. I mean, just yesterday I was playing the multiplayer mode of Doom, and shooters that rely on map memorization and dominance are my favourite kind. So to have that entire chunk just absent from this port is a big letdown. And this isn't really a cheap game either. Turok 2 is around £15, which is pretty pricey for a gimped port, especially as Doom 3 for instance, an Xbox port with all the features, is £7. So it does become a little hard to recommend Turok 2, though I can't understate that the core single player is so much fun. It's extremely varied, every single level is different, and for the time, this kind of presentation was exceptional. Also the weapons, every single one is iconic. I mean at first you just have a bow and arrow, but before long you'll have a shotgun with explosive rounds, and explosive arrows, basically everything explodes. And back to the presentation, this game was kind of violent for the time. Like you can shoot off the limbs of enemies, and when you kill them they'll go into this slow death animation. It really is quite gory for the N64, and these animations still look good. And while the backtracking can get a bit much at times, it does make the levels feel like an established world. Because of the exploration factor, there aren't really elements that look alike, so that means wherever you're going, there's something new to see. And because of the control ambition at the time, Turok feels surprisingly modern to play. Like the controls aren't too far off something like Half-Life. So while Turok 2 isn't completely flawless and this port's missing a big multiplayer component, the core DNA and structure is tighter than ever, and playing this with gyro controls is just so fun and precise. And if you're a maniac, you can even play with touch controls, though it's kinda hard to press any buttons while doing this, but it's there. So what do you guys think about Turok 2? Did you play it back in the day, and are you happy with this Switch version? There's definitely pros and there's definitely cons, but Turok 2 is still a fun game today. So let us know what you guys think about this port down below, and of course be sure to subscribe to Game Explain and ring that bell for a lot more on dinosaurs and other things gaming too. Until next time, bye.